because I will do that. I will be like halfway through venting and then be like, fuck, I didn't hit record. And then more live on Facebook.
So I'm also not Lady Luck Studios anymore.
Oh.
So I did change it to Portraits by Delain, just so you know.
Okay.
Because you'll probably say Lady Luck Studios.
I was totally going to.
Yeah. It's new for me too.
Okay. Why the change?
Because I felt like it needed to be more personal. I was struggling between like this brand that didn't feel like me and trying to be me. And I was like, and maybe even Portraits by Delain might change. I'm really just trying to go with the flow. So, but Lady Luck Studios just wasn't feeling right anymore. So
I like it. It's preparing. I never know like how fast this works.
How long do we usually talk for?
Whenever.
Okay.
I try to keep it for an hour. But really, whatever you want. People might be like seeing me on live jamming out right now. It's thinking. It's setting up my Facebook Live.
Technology, hey? I'm glad you're doing that end of it.
So I'm like, I don't know what works, but we are live. Okay. Woohoo. Meeting is now streaming live. Whoop, whoop. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen of the book, I can't even speak today. Of the Book of Faces, I'm super excited to have special guest today, Miss Delain. I'm not even going to say your last name because I'll say it wrong.
Okay.
But so Delain is the owner and the creator of Portraits by Delain. So she is a phenomenal photographer. And I don't say that, I say that intentionally with extra emphasis of phenomenal, because she not only has done many of my boudoir photos that many people have commented on and been like, holy shit, this is amazing. She's also the creator of all of my branding photos, which have been absolutely stunning, and I'm just eternally grateful to have her capture my essence of my brand and my personality and my hilariousness and all the F-bombs of badassery. So today we're going to be talking about, I would say it's almost a kind of a controversial topic of self-love. There's self-love movement, self-care, self-value, self-worth. It's all really intertwined and captured together. And what I love about the work that you do and the conversation that we're going to have today is, and the title of this video of, can you capture it? Capture in the essence of, can you capture that in a photo? So Delain, welcome to the podcast, live stream, Facebook, all the thing episode. And
thank you.
Let's start off with, who are you and why is self-love really important to you?
Okay, well, I'm Delain Witzaney. Tricky last name, I know. And yeah, I am a mom of 2 boys living here in Edmonton, Alberta. I am currently single, and I have been on a deep dive myself over the last couple of years, and with self-love and self-care and what it actually means. And turns out I was kind of wrong a little bit about what it was, but finding my way. I grew up a tomboy and wasn't very girly. I wanted to play all of the sports and run around and, do all those types of things. And I felt confused about, being a girl and what that meant, and these sort of traditions, like getting your hair done before going out or all that sort of stuff. I look back and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? I thought I looked good. Oh my God, it's so funny looking back. But yeah, it's been a couple years now where I've really taken this deep dive. And for me now, self-care is really mind, body, and soul. It's all three of those things. It's not just one or the other. Sometimes I'm doing really good in one area, not so great in others. But I'm learning to be gentle with myself and just being super aware of where I'm at, and things like little things of, oh yeah, my period's coming. Let's give myself a little grace, because sometimes I forget and I feel like I'm shocked every month. I'm like, what? Oh, right. Yeah, of course I'm emotional.
Right? Yeah. We fall into, particularly because, of our hormones. And I talk about this a lot with my clients of like, when we're like freaking out, into our negative beliefs or, what I refer to as bound nature. And I'm like, okay, where are you in your cycle? Oh, okay, carry on, right? We forget, that we are susceptible to hormonal changes, which, we need to give ourselves a little bit more love during that time.
Absolutely. Because you realize you're like, oh, right, I was a mess yesterday, and that's totally okay, right? Just that awareness is key.
Yeah, I love it. And so, being a Portraits by Delain, which, is boudoir photos, regular portrait photos of people, and branding sessions. I would love to talk and dive into towards the boudoir avenue for now, because a lot of people do this for their own self-love, really embracing and accepting and feeling powerful into their body, and at any size, and I emphasize at any size. And so being the one behind the lens, how is that experience, and what are you seeing in terms of your clients and even yourself of self-love in camera?
So yeah, boudoir photography is for everybody and all sizes. It doesn't matter what age you are. We go through this, transformation through our lives, and it can change. So for me, it's really about loving yourself where you are right now and not waiting. So a lot of people are, well, when I lose 10 pounds, when I do this, when I do that, then I'll do it. But you're putting your life on hold, and something that can ultimately help you into love you where you are now, instead of waiting for your circumstance to change to start doing it. And it's not easy, and boudoir photography by no means is going to fix everything about yourself, but it's an experience. So for us, when you come in, it involves hair and makeup. It's part of that transformation, and also that super fun ceremony of being a woman, getting dressed up in your hair and your makeup and putting on an outfit that you absolutely love. And I would say that it takes a few minutes and a few poses for a client to get comfortable. And then it's an expression, it's a change in the way that you hold yourself and carry yourself and lift your chin and your eyes, and the poses aren't going to be super comfortable, and that's me. So that's the artist in me creating, you're like, why does this look attractive, right?
I can attest to that. Because I remember like sometimes being on that couch and you're like, okay, this is going to feel awkward as fuck, but I promise you it looks hot. I'm like, okay.
Totally. Because it's a perception, right? So it's what my camera is seeing and what I'm trying to get out of you as well, right? So, but there is a transformation that does happen, and it is in how I view it. So how I view it is going to be different than anybody else, and it's how I perceive that sexiness in each woman, and it's different every time, but it's the juicy part, right? When I see it, it's like, oh shit, don't move, okay, that's it, and you get it, and you're, I want to stay there, and I want to stay there with her, because I can, she's starting to feel it too, right? And really get into the moment and the mood and be with me right now and not worrying about anything else.
And I think that's key, that what you just said, being in it right now. Because like you said, self-love is like, we need to do it now and not wait. Don't put your life on hold. And when you can really start get comfortable and really embrace that, whatever self-love looks for you, right? And for some of my photos, it's rocking a badass leather jacket. And some of it's really lace and soft. Some of your boudoir photos are pinup girls from like, they're like, I would never walk in those shoes, but they look fucking badass. Like that is lit,
Yeah.
like it is, we have this, I think we have this idea and this perception, and you and I can attest to this again, growing up tomboys, being, more masculine, and I put this in quotations because I know we'll talk about feminine, masculine, yin yang, of having tattoos and being maybe, more bold, being more abrasive, not being often the typical woman, right? I use air quotes all the time. So, but when you can really step into that and just own who you are, self-love is
Yeah.
really just owning who you are. And that means it's okay to want more. It's okay to progress. It's okay to still have goals and want to work on your physique and still grow in your personal development and still, cultivate a strong relationship, but you can still love who you are right now. And I love when when people, myself included, when you can be in that moment and you can capture it on film is insane.
Yeah, and it's always shifting and changing, right? We're never the same person, right? It's really like an evolution, and how you feel about yourself today and tomorrow and 3 years from now. Like I think about how I felt about myself when I was 20. I was a very different person, and I'm grateful for the lessons and everything that I learned up to this point. But I worked in the trades a lot, and I wore work boots and hard hats and operated equipment and did, all those things. And I felt that I needed to be more of a bro.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, but I was in that world, and not saying anything against it, it's just where I was at that time.
Yep.
But I was also craving this feminine aspect of myself, but I honestly had no idea how to even start doing it.
Yeah.
And now you can't fucking get me out of a dress.
This is true.
I literally own like 2 pairs of pants, and like it just, yeah. So I've, slowly found my way in what I love and what I feel good wearing, and feel totally confident in that feminine side when I didn't before. I was definitely hiding.
Yeah. And that in itself is a perception too, because for myself, similarly, I grew up, I always had NFL Sunday. I was always playing with the boys. I didn't have like a lot of girlfriends because they were catty and dramatic, at that point in my life. And I was more comfortable around guys, and same thing, baggy sweaters, baggy jeans, sweatpants, hoodies, same thing. And at that time in my life, I hated heels. I hated a dress. You would never catch me dead in a dress. But I almost created that story and that limit for me, that there was a part of my life that I couldn't explore beyond that. So while, as I was growing up and into my early 20s, and now I gotten divorced and I'm trying to create whatever this new life looks like, again, I always talk so strongly about the story that we tell ourselves. And, it's like, it was okay. I can still be rough and rugged and tough and own that like a badass, but I could also own a pair of heels and, some more quote unquote feminine type clothing because I feel good. Not because somebody says that's what I have to do to be a confident woman, but because I feel good.
Yeah, the cool thing is that you get to decide what that is, right? So, when people bring in, I've literally done boudoir sessions with sweaters, big socks, and blankets. And it was amazing. She rocked it. That's what she felt sexy and comfortable in. I'm like, perfect. Bring what you feel really good to wear in. So it doesn't even really matter what the clothes are. It's the energy, right? It's how you feel. And it's so important to that self-awareness piece, really like paying attention to, what you're thinking and how does that make you feel. Like I can be very mean to myself. I would never talk to another human being or girlfriend like that, but I'd rip myself apart and I'm like, wait a second, I don't want to do this. So the awareness and paying attention was really key for me as well in this whole self-care, self-love process. And it's still every day I'm learning things, and it's not perfect, right? It's a journey, definitely a journey.
It is. And it's a journey, and you've nailed it. It's a journey. You work on it every day. You're not perfect, and you never will be. The work is forever, right? The work is forever. And it's always ongoing. We're always evolving. We're always getting to our next level. There's always more room to grow. The idea is to progress, not to be perfect. So, I love that.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Every year, and I believe I've been a part of it since you started it,
Totally.
in January.
Yes.
And I want to talk about this for anybody that's in Edmonton or an area. And if you're not local, you know, I challenge you to go find somebody to do this. You have a 30 days of self-love campaign. Tell everybody about this, because I absolutely love and adore this project.
Okay, so what we do is we photograph 30 women and we create a boudoir session for them. So we do hair and makeup and we have a boudoir session. We do like a fun little swag bag. It's super fun, right? And it's about a 40-minute session. But what we also do is we share stories of these women and, you know, what they love about being a woman. So really changing the narrative, right? So what do you love about being a woman? What do you love about your body? You know, we did a little bit of, you know, where do you like to go shopping, right? So let's focusing on all the good things, right? And the fun things, and sharing that and those stories with the public. And it was really cool because people would come up to me and talk about the 30 days of self-love and tell me about the women that were in it. They were actually reading it. And I was like, oh my God, we love stories and connecting with people. And you're like, oh my God, I thought that about myself too, or I'm not alone, right? We get caught in our minds and we think that nobody else could possibly think this, but I guarantee you it'll pull somebody's heartstrings and like, oh shit, that's me too. I feel that way. And it's empowering people and women, because when you feel confident in yourself and you do shit that's scary, but you do it anyway, and you come out on the other side and you're like, fuck yeah, you know, you share that experience with people and you walk confidently towards other things in your life too. You know, what else can I do that's scary? Can I go talk to this person, or can I sign up for this class? Can I hire a coach? So really that was the focus in sharing. And we are definitely doing it again. So we photograph the women through the month of December and January, because we release it in February, and it's 28 days, not 30. I made that mistake the first year. I was like, oh man, I did not think this.
Fine, 28 days, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I love it. And so we'll post a link below for anybody who's in Edmonton and area who wants to apply. Send you the information. So I will make sure, I see I can't talk today. I will make sure that I put that information and tag that. And I will say, you know, having been in it twice and having seen people in it and having seen people I know in it, that sometime, you know, for myself, there's been some really cool moments. And again, I talk about, again, the title of capturing self-love. There's been some photos where I've just been like, oh, fuck. That's how I feel most of the time. But that's what that feeling looks like. Like, and you're like, damn, like if you could capture an essence and a feeling in a moment, like I said, you know, having been behind the lens twice, and then I'm never disappointed. And I'm always like, oh my God, like, it's so authentic and it's so me. And, you know, and I agree, you know, listening to other people's stories, but it's been the most interesting seeing people that I know in real life, and then seeing them in that aspect. I'm like, damn, girl, like, you need to own that. Yeah. And you're like, holy shit. Right. And so I think, you know, particularly women, you know, our self-love is last. It's everybody. We put everybody before, you know, ourselves. You know, and self-love and self-care often, you know, gets last. And we really need to be, you know, our best client, our best person, our most important person, our most vital aspect, particularly women in business. You are your most important client, right? You know, and I see that time and time again in a business sense. And so, you know, in that aspect, I would love to hear, because this is not only for women. Self-care and self-love are for men. And I would say almost more important, because I think it's so it's not getting brought up. It's not being talked about. There's a really weird perception around men and self-love. It's starting to grow, but I feel it's very predominantly a female movement, or articles or blogs or photography, and it's not only for women.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just want to backtrack a little bit. I want to say thank you, and I'm grateful for your kind words, and I absolutely love photographing you. You're so much fun. And I think I need to repost you like moonwalking out of the room. That was so amazing. It was so amazing. I'm grateful for you and your continued support. Thank you so much. And I do want to say also that it's those photos that you see of somebody and it's a connection, right? Like you can really feel their energy in that moment, and they've really connected with me and my camera. So it's really, I don't stop until I get it, right? But when I get it, I know I've gotten, I'm like, okay, we're good. Okay, you want to try something racy, you know, like, so, and yes, men and self-love, I think you're right. I think it's that we don't talk about it enough. And unfortunately, you know, men can get a bad rap, especially on social media, right? With some of the movements going on. But we, you know, have men in our lives that we love and we adore, and we want to see them succeed and grow their self-awareness and their self-love as well, so that they can, you know, when they step into their power, you know, they bring us up with them too. It's, you know, it's not just women, right? But there's men boudoir, there tends to be a bit of a comical side of it, right? When I see some photos, it's a funny session, or, you know, like they're, you know, celebrating their dad bod and stuff. But I mean, what guy doesn't want that GQ, like freaking Calvin Klein underwear sexiness? Totally.
Right? Like, why would you not? You know, and
Absolutely.
and I think it's, you know, often, you know, particularly in the fitness world, it gets shoved off, right? And it's like, you know, when guys have worked their asses off for a physique, you know, and they're like, oh, well, you're just like flaunting your abs and you're flaunting your shoulder. No, like maybe they're just embracing their fucking self-love. Like that's okay, you know, and you know, in a world right now where it's like, you know, Me Too, and, you know, and we talk so much about body shaming, like not to do it, and really own your happiness and your self-love at any size. Why is it not okay for guys to? Right?
Yeah. Well, I agree. And part of it is, I think, giving each other a little bit more grace, right? And compassion. It seems almost easier to find the shit and the garbage, especially on social media, but to really like support people and know that we're all struggling with something, right? There's something going on beyond what we can see. And sometimes we're conditioned to only put the good stuff and the happy stuff out there. But, you know, what relationship doesn't struggle and have its challenges personally or with, you know, the people around us? And men, absolutely. They, you know, they're trying to live up to this idealistic masculine perception that's put on. And I have 2 young boys, right? And I catch myself sometimes too. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't get him that, you know, what a girl toy because of, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second, Delain. Like I had this moment, I'll share it with you. I was shopping for Gray. He's 5. And there was an alligator sweater, and you know the sequence that goes different colors?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah,
they do it with mermaids and unicorns, of course. Unicorns all the time. Yes.
Right. So there was an alligator one, and I'm like, and there's the sequin was, and it was in the boys section, but the sequin was like colorful or whatever. And I was like, that's too feminine. I shouldn't get it for him. I'm like, wait a second. He's going to fucking love that shirt. And I'm like, I'm buying it for him. Like, let's just, you know, stop this trying to fit him into a box and, you know, be okay with sequin. Like, really, come on. He's 5. He's 5 and it's an alligator. But I have those moments, right, where I really catch myself and I have to have a conversation of, you know, what's, you know, the bigger picture. Is it going to, I don't know. You know, I think it's, and being a mom really it's for him to be okay with who he is and what he likes and his passions and not try to stick him in.
Well, you know, and I often refer to you, you know, particularly in the photography world, of like queen of being out of the box, because you're so fun, you're so real, you know, you've got lots of tattoos, you know, you have pinup girl photos, like you've got like all over the spectrum, and you know, which is why I've always resonated with you as a client, and you do all my photos, and they're fucking epic and amazing. But again, you know, that's it is. You know, if we make it a big deal, it becomes a big deal for them, right? And if you're in a, you know, as a mom, and I'm not a mom, but I know when I talk to a lot of clients, And it works the same with the story we tell. What's the story you're telling your kids? That
Yeah.
this is a girl thing, that this is a boy thing? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right? And if you get back to it, he's going to fucking love it. That's what matters.
Totally.
Let him figure out
Yeah.
the story around it, because he's probably never going to perceive it as it's a boy shirt, it's a girl shirt. He's going to be like, this is fucking awesome. Right?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you, but most of the time the story I create in my head is not fucking based on reality and truth.
100%. It's not. It is not. And this is something that I
Yeah.
heavily coach about in all of my mindset programs. And which is interesting because a lot of people come to me obviously for weight loss, muscle composition, athletic conditioning, and all we talk about is mindset, right? And that's it. The story that we tell ourselves is based on influence from people, from stories from our parents, the
Yeah.
conditioning of social media, like we've talked about this time and time again, when doing photos for magazines, right? It's like, oh, they want me to be like this, but I'm going to do this because fuck it, because this is more me, right? And so, it's the story that we know is almost always bullshit. It's not true.
I can create some good ones, I'll tell you that. Like where I literally, my physiology changes in my body, right? Like it just, and then it can take me down and but it's also, I'm so grateful. Like, the biggest change maker for me was definitely working with a coach. When I invested in myself, when I started working with a coach, and you have somebody there to say, look at what you just said, listen to what you just said, be aware of, what if you just changed it to this or that, and it made a huge difference, and it also fast tracked me, right? Working with somebody and having that person to talk to, and it's so much easier to see it and hear it from somebody else than just by yourself. But then building the tool and the muscle, that self-awareness muscle up, I'm grateful for that, because I can have that conversation with myself literally in the store at H&M, being like, standing there, and this whole conversation went on in my head, and I'm like, just buy the damn shirt.
Right? But that's the awareness, right? And that's when you learn the tools and you're implementing them, and like you said earlier, you're doing the work every day, that conversation happens in a split second where you're like, I don't know, you're like, no, you're like, da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? It happens so fast. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna rock this shit today. So,
and being graceful, like, just because I feel jealous or angry or upset, or I think that, oh my it's too girly for him, like it's okay that I thought that. I'm not a bad person because I had these thoughts, or I'm jealous or whatever. It's just, what is this trying to, what's here for me to know, right? What's this trying to bring up for me to work on? Because it's about us. It's not about anybody else, or it's what's there for me to know. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not ready to learn that lesson. Okay. Just let me have this pity party for 24 hours and then we can talk again.
Like, I will learn my language about this and dive into my journal and figure it out.
Sure.
Just not right now. Not right now. I would love to hear your own journey from your past. And like you said that you had gone through, I'm sure, I know from the time we've talked, you've gone through a couple of journeys, and you're like really just stepping into your brand, into your essence, into your individuality. What was your self-love journey and your biggest lesson?
Oh man, my self-love journey. My whole life, I guess, right? We're kind of on this journey of trying to figure things out, but it wasn't until, my separation, when Ryan and I decided to separate, just about 2 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long already, but I went through a deep dive. Like, I thought that I had it figured out. It was just this one piece I needed to work on. Well, turns out I had to grieve. Like, it was a relationship that we both decided to end, right? It was very mutual, and we get along really well, and we have a great friendship, but I still needed to, I had to go through this mourning process, and it was tough, man. I was on the floor at times, being sad about thinking I was ruining a family, and being selfish, and, scared for my kids and everything. But I working through all of that, and working through coaches, and trusting my intuition and trusting myself is the biggest lesson that I've learned. And I work on that every day. It's gotten better, but I still work on that trust with myself and knowing what's right for me. Because now looking back, it was tough, but I'm so grateful because I know from my deepest parts of my soul that, wow, man, we had kids together and we can have a friendship and it's amazing. It's better than I thought it could ever be. Do I still have moments of like jealousy? And yep, it boils up, but then I work on it and I get past it. Right.
Mhm.
And it's been working with, coaches and doing a lot of spiritual work and kind of working with these different modalities of like SRT and meditation, and going deep has changed my perception, not only for myself, but how I see things and relationships around me.
Mhm.
And just fucking going for it. Like legit, Delain, if you want to wear like that fucking crazy dress and your Doc Marten boots and like, just do it. Just do it, because who cares? It's you, it's me. The relationship with myself has been the focus. So yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that. That's
totally.
it's crazy powerful. I hope people like rewind and listen to that again.
I went
But
on a bit of a tangent, maybe. I don't know.
no, it's perfect. But I think that's what people need to hear, and because I think that a lot of people talk self-love, not a lot of people are doing it, right? It looks good on social media. Oh, I'm having
Yeah.
a bubble bath. Okay, but like it's more than that, right? It's more than surface level stuff, and all that stuff is
Yep.
great, and it brings you to the path. But I think just from all my coaching experience, there's so much stuff that's inside, deep down, that we're ignoring and we're deflecting and we're suppressing and we're trying to slip it under the radar and like, no, I don't have any problems with that. It's because I'm too busy. I'm too busy. That's why I don't have time to make dinner and eat food and like, oh, I'm so busy with my entrepreneurial life. No, it's not because I have low self-confidence and I need to work on that. No, I got that. Like, no, like you probably don't got it. And that's okay. And that's okay.
Yeah, totally. It's totally being okay with where you are. And it's funny because now I know when something shows up for me, like jealousy or whatever, I use that because that was one of the most recent feelings I had to kind of work through. But it's here to share and show something for me, for my growth. Because beyond this shit, especially if it keeps coming, keeps showing up, it's like, okay, clearly we need to work on this, right? And SRT has been my girlfriend who does it, so we did a session and I was talking about self-care.
For those that don't know what SRT is,
spiritual release therapy. So
there we go.
Yeah. And it's pretty profound. So, but I was telling her, she's asking me, well, what are you doing for self-care? And I'm like, yeah, well, I take a bath and put some Epsom salts. And she's like, well, what about the rest of you? And I'm like, what? She's like, well, what about your soul? Like, what about your mind? And I'm like, oh yeah. I literally thought it was like, doing like a dry brush and like having a shower and focusing just on my body. But wow,
yeah.
I've opened my eyes.
Yeah. And that, that's it is right. And that, like, don't get me wrong. It's amazing for people to schedule time, have a bubble bath,
Yes.
relax,
It's
read.
part of it.
It's part of it, but there's layers, just like there's layers of leveling up and layers of personal development and layers of, improving coaching. Like I'm always learning and improving my skills. There's layers to self-care and to self-love, right? There's layers. Go deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, before I started working with a coach, and even earlier on, I had this perception that a coach needed to basically be a perfect fucking human being, right? So everything needs to be perfect in their life. They need to be a millionaire. They need to have the perfect marriage. And then I was like, wait a second. Personal growth and development never stops. Like even you think of anybody in the whole world, they're still growing and working and evolving, and that's not the point of a coach anyway. We're all human. We all screw up. We all have shit we need to work on. And I just want to reiterate that a coach has been huge for me to transform, a mindset. I worked on my mind for so long that I do need to do the physical side now, which I'm just like, oh man, but I worked out yesterday. And I was going to post at the park with my kids. I was like, that bar, I bet you I could do pull-ups because I want to do a pull-up.
Yes.
unassisted in my life. So I'm like working out when my kids are running around doing jump squats.
Yes.
But I felt good. I felt good.
And, you know, and action creates motivation, right? And once you got, you know,
Totally.
motivation will help you be consistent, and consistency will help you develop discipline, and then it becomes a habit.
Yeah, because I moved my body for about 20 minutes and I was like, yeah, I should have that, you know, steak salad after. I wasn't thinking we should stop at McDonald's on the way home. Nope.
Yeah, it changes things, right? You know, and
Totally.
you know, and it's it's true, right? Like as a coach, I have a coach. You know, my coaches have, you know, have coaches. They work with coaches for various, you know, and my coaches have been in the business for 20 plus years, right? You're always leveling up to your next level, right? And I'll be the first to admit I don't have the answers for everything. I got a lot of answers and guidance for a lot of stuff, but I'm always learning and growing too, because because I want to level up. You know, I want to be the best that I can be for myself, so then I can powerfully serve others as well too in the coaching space. I love it.
Totally. And I think it's finding the person that you resonate with, right? That you can, and that inspires you and you can share everything with. Like it's important to really put your whole self out there and not be afraid of it, right? But it's kind of scary, but it feels really good to say shit out loud. Like your shadow side, or the shit that you're like, I can't possibly tell anybody this.
Yep.
Oh my God, when you say it, it's so freeing. My shoulders just drop and like, yes.
Love it. Now, as a mom, because there's a lot of my clients and a lot of my followings are moms, and you have two very busy boys.
Yes.
Self-love, being a parent and being busy.
Yeah, it can be tricky and feel super overwhelming at times. So I'm not a single parent, I'm a co-parent, right? So I have time by myself as well as with my kids, right? And so but I also feel like I'm living a dual life sometimes, because I have, you know, how I wake up in the morning and do my day when they're not here. And then when they're here, it starts at 5 a.m. and I'm like, no, like, what are you doing? You know, go back to bed. But I will say that if I am not on top of my practices, I'm not, you know, waking up and, you know, doing a gratitude, grabbing my cup of coffee, you know, getting in alignment with myself, shit goes sideways for me fast. So I'm really learning and practicing to do that first before even saying anything to them. Because unfortunately, I've had my moments of yelling and, you know, having adult tantrums and then expecting them to not have a tantrum, right? So I was really like getting how am I feeling inside, and going within and trying not to react, right? So really like feeling it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling so anxious right now. Why am I feeling this way? Why do I feel like, you know, like throwing something across the room, or like anger? And without trying to judge myself too harshly, just letting myself feel it and knowing that they're literally a mirror of me. Was a big lesson.
They're sponges of your energy, right?
Yeah. So if I'm like this, then all of a sudden there's 3 humans in this space being like, like so if I'm not in alignment and I don't do my practices, it's a very different day for me. But I also know that I can turn my day around at any point. So, but I'm constantly learning. Like I'll tell them sometimes, like, I need a break. Your mother needs some alone time and quiet time. You guys do what you need to do. I'm going to have some alone time. And then I'll reconnect and center and come back. And I am not perfect at it. And I definitely have hard days with them, but I'm learning. And the week that I get shit done, right? So I get in alignment, I do my work, I do things that, you know, I'm excited to do, look for fun in the day, and remind myself that, yeah, he's only 3. It's okay. He's only 3. He's only 3. He's only 3. 3 and 5. So they can be quite busy. But
I was gonna say that's a busy age. But I love that, you know, and I think that's really important. It's something that I reiterate to my own clients all the time. You can change your day. You know, and I, you know, one of my clients, actually her inspiration statement is own the day, reclaim the day. So, you know, because and it is because she has kids, right? You know, and your schedule can sometimes go flying out the window. You can have the best intentions of the morning, but then they're throwing a tantrum, or you're running late and now you've lost the shoe and you're out, you know, like whatever is it. But like you said, you know that at any point in time you can change the day. You can get back into that, you know, that flow, into that, you know, that happiness, into that gratitude, and you know, you can really, really reclaim the day, which I think is really powerful. If you miss self-love time and self-care time, you can do it at another time. Like,
literally, especially when you're around kids, the universe like shows up for you big time and telling you, like, you know, throwing it back at you. You know, what you're putting out, it's like when you have kids, it's right there in front of you. If things are like legit going sideways, you're like, whoa, you know. I literally like put them in the car, in their car seats, closed the doors, took 10 steps away, and just like took some deep breath before going back in the car. And I'm like, hey, I'm good. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. And sometimes it is that simple, right? It is.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's, you know, you need a few more minutes, or you just need to like vent sometimes too.
I love it.
But yeah, parenting is tricky, and you can be really hard on yourself, right? Because you want to do all the things for them, right? You want to have, you want them to eat nutritious food, and you want them to, you know, watch programs that are learning the ABCs and all of this stuff. And sometimes you just gotta have fun and flow, right? And pivot, because like you said, you're going to lose a shoe, or somebody's going to poop their pants at the park, or like shit happens, like
literally.
Yeah, totally. Grace. It's that grace piece again, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
So what have you, in your photography career, in terms of dealing's the wrong word, in terms of capturing the essence of people's self-love, is there a moment that comes to mind that stands out for you more than others?
There's many moments, but truly it's when I take the time and slow down. So sometimes, like in a session, I can get rushed, or I feel like I need to produce. I kind of lose like you said, the essence of what I'm actually trying to do. And it's literally the moment when I know I've connected to the person's higher self and their true self, that brings the aliveness to it. And, you know, and letting go of this perfection of like, I like details, right? So maybe the background.
I've never noticed that ever.
You know, it's like maybe the background wasn't perfect, or their hair might have been like my bangs are doing, right? They're not perfect, but
I know, I'm thinking about how many times you've been like, no, move your hair. This hair, no, I don't like it.
I can see myself and I'm like, girl, you could have put more hairspray on. But yeah, you know, kind of the technicality of photography and the way that I learned letting that go just a little bit to connect and create that with my client so that she can see it in her photos. Yeah, there hasn't been just one. It's those moments with each client, and it's just so juicy and juices me up, and it gets super fucking excited for it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. For the women that are out there, and the men who might be on the fence about Boudoir, uncomfortable, not sure what it's about, what is your biggest piece of advice or suggestion on self-love and photography?
Honestly, I think it's scary, right? It feels scary to, you know, be vulnerable in our skin, and it's that outward body, right, that we're nervous to show, or it's not perfect, or you know, it's doing it because it's scary, and moving towards what feels scary, because there's so much growth beyond that. And it's just say yes, you know, whether that's boudoir photography, or it's like, you know, buying the dress of your dreams, you know, what you see in the window and you're like nervous, oh my God, I could never do that, or I couldn't wear that, or I, you know, couldn't possibly. Just do it. Just move towards it. because there's so much reward on the other side of it. Like, yeah, I fucking just did that. I've had clients walk in my door who are visibly shaking. They're so nervous. And by the time, you know, they have their hair and makeup done and they see that I'm a real human being, right? And we connect and we talk and joke around, you know, maybe have a little champagne, you know, loosens people up a little bit, but it's also guiding people through the process, right? So I'm posing people and talking you through the whole thing. So I think that takes away some of the fear as well. But honestly, if you've always wanted to do it, just say yes. Whether that's me or another boudoir photographer that you totally resonate with, just say yes and do it. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Self-love defined in 5 sentences or less. Go.
Getting in touch with your higher self and loving you for who you are through everything, light side and shadow side.
Ah, through everything. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to have this conversation. Again, for anybody that's in the Edmonton area, you know, St. Albert, Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, all the places, all the things. I will post Delain's contact information, website information, some of the pictures that she's done for myself as well. You know, I highly recommend, if that's something that you're interested in, go to her website, look at her pictures, look at her blogs. 28 Days of Self-Love campaign will be coming out again. So she will be booking for December and January. And it's just, you know, it's just been a real pleasure. You know, I'm grateful to have you in my life, in my sphere of influence, and for all the incredible, you know, photos that you've taken of me and continue to take for me, of really just capturing, you know, my own authenticity and brand and personality. Nobody's ever been able to even come close to the magic behind the lens. So, you know, just again, thank you for, you know, just being really real and vulnerable about your own story and sharing that with people. I think it's really powerful, you know, of all the dark shit, you know, that's equally just as powerful to embrace, you know, and there's such light and positivity and success and growth on the other side, which, you know, you're living every day. So
yeah. Awesome.
Thank
you.
you.
Oh my God, thank you. This was so fun. I was like a little bit nervous and I'm like, girl, you're talking with Michelle. It's good. We're all good.
It's totally just
swear.
Yeah, no. That's why I was like, it literally is just a free flow. And I'll always think of things to say based on what you're saying and stuff. So
absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
It was awesome to see your beautiful face today.
Yeah, do you want me to send them? Do you have a 28 Days of Self-Love registration link? Or do you want me to send them to your website or your Facebook, or where do you want me to send people?
Send them to my Facebook. That would be